She thought power meant humiliation, but she had no idea who she just touched. The evening shimmered with gold. Lights as New York's. Most elite gathered for the annual Ridgewood Charity Gala, the kind where money flowed smoother than the wine, and respect was usually reserved for the rich. People whispered, laughed, clicked glasses, and pretended the world outside didn't exist. But everything changed the moment he walked in. A tall black man in a clean, minimalistic suit, confident, calm, and completely unaware that tonight, every eye would eventually lock onto him. Some guests tried to guess who he was. A new donor? A security head? Someone's assistant? No one even considered the truth. At the center of the room, Victoria Hayes, the billionaire's glamorous wife, scanned the crowd. She loved control. She loved attention. And she especially loved reminding people of their place, her. Diamond necklace glowed like her ego, and her smirk sharpened every time someone nodded at her as if she were royalty. Her eyes landed on the black man. She narrowed her gaze. Another uninvited guest? She muttered. He simply approached the table to check the seating tag. Calm, professional, focused. Victoria stepped forward, blocking him. "This area is for donors only," she said, her voice laced with venom. He looked at her politely. "I know." But that one sentence, simple, respectful, irritated her even more. In front of dozens of wealthy guests, she lifted her wine glass, tilted it, and poured the red liquid down his suit. The room froze. A gasp, a whisper, a hand covering a mouth. Tension spread like wildfire. Victoria smiled with triumph. "Now maybe you'll understand boundaries." The man didn't move, didn't shout, didn't even touch the stain. His stillness scared people more than anger ever could. Some guests stepped back. Others whispered, "Why isn't he reacting? Who is he really? Is he staff?" A young waitress hurried over with napkins, trembling. "I'm so sorry, and sir. I didn't know she'd... I can help clean..." He gently raised a hand, stopping her. "It's all right. Accidents happen." Victoria laughed loudly. That wasn't an accident. Every eye was now on him. Every whisper was about him. And yet, he remained composed in a way that made people strangely uncomfortable, as if they were missing a big, very big detail. Across the hall, one man, older, powerful, sharply dressed, froze when he finally saw the black man. His glass slipped from his hand and shattered. Victoria noticed the reaction. "Richard? What's wrong with you?" she asked her husband. But Richard didn't answer. His face had gone pale. His eyes were locked, terrified, on the man she had humiliated. A guest leaned in to whisper, "Do you know him?" Richard's jaw tightened, breathing shallow. He finally whispered only 2 words. "God help us." Victoria blinked. "What? Why?" He swallowed hard. Because the truth that would destroy everything she owned, was standing just a few feet away, letting the red wine drip calmly onto the marble floor. And Victoria still had no idea. The room buzzed with growing fear, curiosity, and confusion as the black man slowly lifted his eyes toward the billionaire couple. He finally spoke, calm, deep, controlled. "Mrs. Hayes, you should not have done that." Victoria scoffed. "Or what, you'll complain to security?" He gave a small smile. "Security won't be the ones coming for you." Gasps. A chair shifted. A donor nearly choked on champagne. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. Who are you supposed to be?" But Richard already knew, and with his voice trembling, he whispered to her, "He owns the company that owns us." Victoria froze. Her smile vanished. Her throat tightened. But she had no idea that this was only the beginning. Because in the next hour, her entire empire would crumble, right in front of everyone watching. The gala lights suddenly felt too bright, too hot. Whispers thickened like smoke as the billionaire couple faced the man. Victoria had arrogantly humiliated minutes earlier. Red wine still dripped from his suit, yet he stood there with a calmness that unnerved everyone. Victoria finally spoke, her voice cracking slightly. "Richard, what do you mean he owns the company that owns us?" Richard didn't answer. He didn't blink. He only whispered, "He's the one we were warned about." The man stepped closer, unbothered by the stain she'd poured on him. His presence alone shifted the entire room's energy. Guests who once laughed behind champagne glasses now straightened up like soldiers. Victoria's lips trembled. You're joking. He can't be..." But he cut her off softly. "I'm not here as your owner, Mrs. Hayes. Not tonight." Then he looked around. Half the audience stiffened. Some even bowed their heads without knowing why. He continued, "Tonight I'm here because someone submitted a complaint about this gala. Something about discrimination, harassment, and misuse of donated funds. Victoria froze. Her heart hammered. Her eyes darted at Richard. You said no one would find out. A woman in the crowd whispered, "Is he an investigator?" Another gasped, "No, he's bigger. Look at the security. They're terrified of him." Richard stepped forward, trying to salvage the moment. "There's a misunderstanding. Victoria didn't know who you were." The man raised an eyebrow. So she believed humiliation was acceptable. As long as the victim wasn't powerful. Silence. Piercing. Terrifying. Victoria's hands shook uncontrollably. He continued, "This event, this mansion, this corporation, everything you've built was given under strict trust conditions. Conditions you violated." Richard's face whitened. Whispers exploded. "What conditions? What did they do? Are they in trouble?" The man took out his phone, typed something, pressed one button. A moment later, Richard's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and nearly collapsed. Victoria snatched the phone. Her eyes widened. "Notice of trust termination, effective immediately." Below it, signed by the Executive Chief Benefactor, Elijah Carter. Her jaw dropped. "Elijah Carter?" she whispered. The room gasped. Everyone knew that name. The secretive black billionaire. The youngest man to ever control a global investment empire. The man people only heard about but rarely saw. And he was standing in front of her, soaked in the wine she poured. He tilted his head. "Now do you understand why humiliation is a dangerous hobby?" Victoria's legs trembled as Elijah turned toward the crowd. "Your guests came here for charity," he said. "Instead, they walked into corruption disguised as glamour." Cameras clicked. Phones recorded. Worlds were falling. "Victoria Hayes," Elijah said quietly. "Your actions tonight confirmed what I needed to know." Her voice cracked. What happens now?" Elijah looked at the mansion's grand staircase, the symbol of their wealth, and then he said the words that shattered every illusion in the room. "Your empire ends tonight." Victoria felt the room spin. She grabbed the table for support as Elijah stepped toward her with slow, deliberate steps, the kind that announced power without a single raised voice. Her voice came out as a whisper, "You're destroying us." Over spilled wine? Elijah's eyes locked onto hers. It was never about the wine. He lowered his voice, letting the entire room lean in. 3 months ago, Elijah said, I received a letter from an employee of this foundation. A young black intern who said she was mocked, underpaid and silenced. Richard's breath hitched. Victoria froze. Elijah continued. When she tried to report it, she was fired the next morning. Gasps erupted. Guests murmured angrily now, against the Hayes family. And tonight, Elijah added, your behavior proved she wasn't lying. He turned toward the audience. Discrimination isn't a mistake. It's a pattern. Victoria fell to her knees. Please, wait, we can fix this. But Elijah shook his head. You had every chance. Instead, you made a spectacle out of humiliation. Security entered quietly, not Elijah's, but the board's. Richard whispered, Please, don't do this. My father built this. Elijah stared at him. I know, he was a good man. That's why the trust existed. But you broke everything he stood for. Victoria sobbed louder, mascara streaming. Just tell me what you want from me. Elijah leaned forward slightly. I want one thing. She looked up, hopeful. He finished. For you to understand the value of the people you stepped on. He turned away, walked calmly through the room. No further threats. No shouting. Just absolute terrifying power. As he reached the exit, the media swarmed the mansion. Headlines flashed. The charity board announced an emergency takeover. Guests rushed outside to tell the world what they witnessed. Victoria collapsed on the floor, whispering the same line over and over. What have I done? And Elijah Carter stepped into his car, giving the final, chilling instruction to his assistant. Make sure the foundation is rebuilt without their name. The doors closed, the engine hummed, and the billionaire who had been disrespected walked away with everything, while they were left with nothing.